Oh, thanks, Gary. Hello, everyone. We are so excited to have Ivo today, but just a little bit, I'll take a few moments from Ivo and talk about, actually, okay, the first slide is about me. So I am, so a little background of me is I'm in the technology industry for actually my entire career, but in various capacities, which work from technical and business side. Focus has been on ideation, business strategy, product definition, basically what it takes to create a new business revenue pipeline. I have been a volunteer and a TiE charter member for several years now, and this is my second year as TiE Women Program Lead. Next slide, Carrie. First of all, before we start the programming here, I would like to thank all our program sponsors for TiE Oregon and TiE Women Program. As a background on TiE, TiE is, you may have heard or read about or being participating as we're participating in the programs now with TiE. It is the world's largest network of entrepreneurs, and the stated mission is to foster entrepreneurship globally. And TiE Women Program specifically was created to embrace, empower women entrepreneurs. And the pillars that we focus on is learning, mentoring, investor access, global networking, and also global platform to showcase and to do all this in a very safe environment. This program has been active for a few years, I think 4 years, Carrie, right? And we have had some positive feedback from folks who have joined this program over the years. So in that spirit of learning, what we have created is a spread of targeted workshops. So Carrie, it would be the next slide. Yeah, so they're basically what we are, we hope that you all take advantage of these classes and ask questions, and it's a pretty informal sessions. So as you're traversing your entrepreneurship journey, please feel free to ask relevant questions here with the experts. But in addition to these local programming, we also wanted to bring to your notice that the TiE Global itself, various chapters, they are offering workshops, presentation that you can participate in and take full advantage that TiE programming has to offer. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our today's presenter. Ivo, we are so lucky to have you here. Thank you. Ivo is the founder and CEO of 24Notion, and she's also a mentor in STEM's team and startups, and her credits go on. So Ivo, welcome. We are so lucky to have you here to share your wisdom and experience, and please feel free to take over and tell us a little about yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Carrie. Well, thank you so much for having me, guys. This is great. I really want to especially thank you for TiE Women. I'm so glad that you guys have this. This is an amazing platform for all of us. And obviously, it's not just for women, for men as well. So I'm excited about this. I know we have a handful of folks, so I think I want to make this more interactive for everyone. I wanted to share a little bit about who I am, what I do, and a little bit of 24Notion. I promise you it'll be short. You know, I have 2 slides and I have a video of like 2 minutes that would kind of sum up everything. But I really also want to go around the robin to hear more about, you know, if you could just share name, what you do and what company. I want to hear a little bit about what are the challenges and opportunities that you guys are thinking of, and what are the things that you're looking for from this session, right, for an hour. I want to make sure that you walk out of here, kind of get more, a little bit of more, you know, of something education wise. So without further ado, I'm Eva Lucas. I run an agency called 24Notion. And we are an integrated marketing agency that combine a combination of from traditional to non-traditional engagement. We are a little bit of modern marketing, what you call that, where you combine, from social marketing as well as in PR, and we push those specific marketing engagement based on your user and targeted audience. So it could be anything from like account-based marketing, it could be event specific, it could be different channels and things of that nature. We do focus on 15 different verticals. We're also global. A lot of our clients are in high tech, but also there's a little bit about 15 verticals that we run. I started this agency, about a decade ago. It's interesting, and I want to make sure too that you guys get to ask question. I actually was looking for funding when I started this agency back in about a decade ago. I wrote myself a business plan in literally like one page, and I shop it around to all of the investors. And every single investor that I met, I kid you not, there's about 15 of them total, said that I'm not going to make it the first year because the agency will build around CSR. Obviously, I really want to give back in terms of engagement. So with that said, with a lot of no's, a lot of mentors that I met as well, and they said, no, 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 no. And I finally realized that, you know what, I'm just going to do it. There's nothing to lose. And I'm going to bootstrap the agency and run with it. And I never looked back. That was like 10 years ago. And I'm excited to see we just grew, and we still are pretty small, considerably. We run a lot of engagement from startup to enterprise as well. So that's a little bit of me. I want to hear everyone. I think if we could go round robin, name who you are, what you do will be great. And then I want to start a couple of minutes of the video as well as a couple of slides about 24 Notion, and then we'll do Q&A. How is that sound, guys?
Sounds
Great.
good.
Who wants to start?
How about if no one's gonna
I'll jump in.
here. All right,
Okay,
go
Bill.
ahead, Bill.
Yeah. So Bill Davis, founder and CEO of beachnecessities.com. We're an e-commerce site that sells beach gear with an emphasis on sustainability, trying to protect the health of the ocean, given how much it gives back to us in terms of being the life source on the planet. So 2021 to 2030 is the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So we're aligned with that, and we're a member of 1% for the Planet. So we carve out 1% of revenue for marine conservation, education, and science.
Oh.
And we think that's a differentiator. We think people will choose to, breadth and depth of product, pricing, comparable, customer service high. People, 25% of the US at least will choose to shop with us because of that. The fact that we're trying to take care of the resources that we recreate at versus trashing them further. So
Great. Nice meeting you, Bill.
yeah, good to meet you. Actually, we met before at a TiE event, but that was a while ago.
No. Sorry if I don't recognize. Who's next?
No, all good.
Chris?
I can go next. So my name is Christopher Stanvik, and I've worked for multiple ad agencies. My last one was at Havas. And I just recently actually joined Linfield College's customer experience program. So I'm an advisor with that group, and I'm really kind of focused now on how consumers are really directing and driving digital transformation, and basically how companies now need to be always connected. So that mentality. And so I'm actually here today just to learn more about maybe some of the practices as relates to, from a PR standpoint in digital, how best to represent a brand, and then what are some of those connections and channels. So very interested, and thank you for letting me join.
Great. Nice meeting you, Chris.
Thank you.
Who's next? Ashley? I'm just
Yeah, I can go next.
following up.
I'm Ashley. I'm a digital marketing manager at Poach Jobs. We are a national hospitality employment site. We're a small team. There's only about 20 employees. And so I'm here to do, a little bit of everything. And one of those things is PR. Oops, sorry. And so I'm just here to learn a little bit about trends and some best practices related to digital marketing and PR.
Great. Wonderful. Margaret, Kazi, just.
Yeah, I could go next. So I'm actually a finance director at a company called Solidigm, which used to be Intel's network storage division, which is now a standalone. But I've spent most of my career at Intel, and I've been part of the venture capital arm of Intel called Intel Capital. So we've done mergers and acquisition and investing in a portfolio of companies, mostly high tech. So the way to think about myself is finance, venture capital, high tech, the key themes. One of my interests is obviously marketing. So I was for a short time the head of finance for the marketing division at Intel. And we've always struggled with kind of how best to invest our money for digital marketing. And so one of the things I'm obviously thinking about as I look at the investment portfolio for my existing company is just more effective use of marketing dollars and how to really think about digital marketing and really get familiar with some of the more recent trends and how people are thinking about it.
Okay, sounds good. Nice meeting you, Kazi.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Margaret.
Hi, I'm Margot. I work for Copy Reusables or Reusable Cup Network in Portland and Vancouver, Washington, also in the Bay Area, California. We could always use more PR and are working on increasing and I think strengthening that arm of our company. We're really small. There's 2 co-founders and me, and I have an intern right now. So looking at ways to really take advantage of our member network, because we do rely on people who join the network and then are kind of bought in, but we could definitely strengthen the ties to our members and always looking for ways to do that.
Great, nice meeting you, Margot. Graph, and then you know what, if you guys don't want to say something too, just let me know, because I don't want to call anyone if you don't want to be on a camera as well. So just feel free to kind of.
No problem. Yeah. So my name is Gaurav, and I'm working as a CEO of AppWork IT Solution. And the reason why I have joined this meeting is to learn more about digital marketing, as we are building one product as well. So we are mainly into the services. So I, along with Kapil, he is also the co-founder of this organization.
Wonderful. Okay. Nice meeting you both.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think we have 2 more.
Hey, hi. Satya Narayanan here from Etlo Social. We are India's first subscription-based digital marketing company. Got featured in Forbes as well. Currently, we got a completed entrepreneurship program in Seed Spark in Stanford, US recently. And currently, we are into developing products related to digital marketing in ads and other stuff, which will facilitate SMEs to grow into like multiple folds. And then we are open for investment and other stuff. So I'm just curious to see what is happening in Oregon. I'm also a TiE member.
Okay.
Happy to get connected with you all.
Yep. Sounds good. Nice to meet you. One more 360 Otter pilot. No. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you so much for those introduction. I think it's great because I'm going to try to touch base to each one of this, right? If I could compact it. This is great. I love it. I love the roundtable. And I think that this is why my time is here as well, to kind of share with you a little bit. As you know, when it comes to like marketing, especially our digital marketing, one size doesn't fit all, right? So those are the big thing that, you know, the 3 things that I always say, and I'm going to actually show a little bit of the video, and then my slide is, you know, make sure that you know who you're targeting. You know, that's the big thing. I think a lot of people are always missing who's the user audience, who are you targeting? I think those are the key thing, you know, and if you don't know the user target, you could kind of create the survey persona. We'll get into that a little bit, but you know, sometimes I often speak with so many, it doesn't matter whether it's in the marketing or the C-level or director, when you ask them, it's like, hey, who are you trying to reach? They're always like, everyone. So that's it, basically what the, I mean, that's basically the don'ts number one, to be honest with you. You can't reach everyone. Now you could create a phases approach where basically phase 1, 2, and 3, maybe you could say, hey, maybe my audience are like enterprise, for example, and basically phase 1 is C-level, phase 2 is director level, and then phase 3 is basically everyone else. So just make sure that you guys kind of know the user audience. I think those are the big thing for us in like the do's, right? So the don'ts is not everyone else, the do is important. The other thing is, it's always important to know what your product and your services, what are you selling? How do you have that elevator pitch? And then how do you make sure you convey your product and services under 30 seconds? I hate to say this, oftentimes, I mean, ourselves too, is like considerably, we always ask that question to those marketing folks and say, hey, what are you trying to sell? What are the product you're selling? Is it a service or is it a product? If you can't basically convey that product in like 30 seconds to 1 minute, most of the time you will lose that audience. I think those are important for you guys to know as well. So that's another do's, right? And last but not least, I think I would say, understand roles and responsibility. And obviously not every channel is for, again, it goes back to one size doesn't fit all. It's not every channel. So obviously the hype and the trend is, hey, let's do a campaign where it's more about social, but obviously maybe your user are not in the social engagement. The same thing with billboard, the same thing with traditional PR and marketing. Oftentimes you could say, hey, I want to buy, a media buy for X, Y, and Z, but you have to understand where that user and audience live before you actually buy those channels and then coming up with the marketing engagement. So I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of that, because I think that will open up the set of question, also engagement of what you guys are trying to convey and where do you find us audience as well. I have a couple minutes video because I think it's really cool. We just finished this, as you know, was also one of our vertical is high tech. And we just closed up this Adobe Summit. Actually, we manage the entire ecosystem, if you think about it, of Adobe, you name it, from the media, the event, the engagement, the social. It's very a true integrated approach. The 2 minutes video is just kind of hype video, but I'll kind of walk you through as well what really kind of works. So let me share with you the video. Can you guys see it? Okay.
We can hear it, but we can't hear. We can see it, but we can't hear it.
You guys can't hear it?
Yeah, so when you share your screen, you might want to go out of share and then reshare, and then just make sure you hit audio.
Oh.
There's like a little square box that says, audio down at the bottom.
Oh. Say that I'm not able to do it, Gary. Does it work? Does it work now? Does that work, Gary, or no?
Hit play again. Yeah,
No.
there's still no audio.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you want to just so there, I know it's hard to find, but it's literally like right down at it's tiny little lettering, like it says, in just a tiny little square box that you have to click on after all the options appear for share screen.
Yeah, I did that. So maybe I'll just start with my PowerPoint first.
It says share sound.
No, I did that.
Okay.
Okay, let me see.
If you want to send me the link, I can pull it up on mine.
It's cool, Carrie. We'll just do
okay.
First. I'll just do PowerPoint, who we are. So maybe that will help. Okay, you guys see who we are? All right. We don't have to do the video. That's fine. Okay, so a little bit of who we are at 24 Notion. It's like a couple minutes. for this, guys. So we are an integrated creative marketing and lifestyle agency. So a lot of our team are pretty much an innovator, creator, thinker, doers, and some sort of an influential network as well. When we started this agency, I'm really big about CSR. So we mean giving back. That was pretty much why 24 Notion is born out of it, corporate social responsibility. When I launched this is basically, if you guys remember, basically 2009, 2010 was kind of the big, recession at that time. And a lot of businesses struggle, and hence a lot of nonprofits struggle as well to get a lot of this engagement, whether it's a support and things of that nature. So our goal is to give back. And then the give back is basically every year we have a different type of vertical. So it could be always education, economic in crisis, kids, STEM and STEAM, and also minorities, really important for us as well. A little bit about us is we're all about impact-driven engagement. What it means is we work really hard to make sure that every single engagement from campaign and program will have an ROI tie into it a little bit. So we don't just do a lot of this engagement or program because we want to make it cool or make it, amazing or it looks good, but there's always an ROI, hence why we have an amazing client that we work with. And our client always come back to us. And we're also, in terms of new businesses, I would say 85% of our businesses come from referral. It's because they always come back to us and we always have ROI tie into it. We focus on 4 different buckets: brand storytelling, creative digital services, social influence, and interactive media technology. Within that, what we call the interactive, and integrated marketing engagement. We have a few IP methodologies, and for example, the integrated marketing communication is how do we build, from start the planning all the way out, also to engagement, to make sure that we execute. So think of us as a turnkey solution. Our team does that. We do a lot of event engagement as well, social, experiential, anything with social, you name it. That could be influencer engagement, it could be brand engagement via social, and we use the platform. We use all of, like Twitter, Facebook, RSS, you name it, things of that nature, YouTube, and things of that nature. Digital transformation is a whole turnkey, and mostly our B2B market and our B2B client that actually use our digital transformation is because we look at their brand, whether it's a startup or an enterprise, we kind of come up with the whole entire turnkey engagement for them. Last but not least, thought leadership think tank. So anyone who we support a lot of executives actually in terms of their speakership, from the PR engagement, speaking, how do we get their name out there, or brand engagement as well. So that's a little bit about us. Here's some of our, obviously some of our case studies that we work as well. I want to answer you guys a little bit about, some of the question that you're looking for, trends and things of that nature. The reason why I want to show the video is because I think that kind of shows the entire ecosystem of what we do, for example, for Adobe, right? So we manage their event, but also we manage their media buys, but we also manage some of the social platform. So depend on any product or go-to market that goes into it, we take those, planning, we come up with strategy, but we also push a lot of those marketing via engagement. We just finished this Adobe Summit, and the reason why I mention it, because that's basically an integrated marketing that we just finished. We have, for example, we brought, 20 of the high-end brand based on ADM that will be going to Vegas, for example, and they will be attending those, keynotes. And then afterward, we have like one-on-one meetings. And then at the end of the day, there will be some sort of a program or event that we personalize it. So that event could be, hey, we created the whole entire personalization, and how do you create your own shoes, for example, with Nike. So hands up, Nike is also a client of Adobe. So hence we handle all the B2B as a result. That's the reason why we push Nike shoes as well for personalization. A little bit about this. So, some of our client, Intel is our client as well. We manage all of their brand ambassadors. What it means is not only from recruiting aspect, as well as finance. And then we just updated all of their entire legion for the brand global brand ambassador. So which mean, let's say that they're still in school, and obviously we take them from, hey, do you want to be a part of Intel Ambassador? And we get them to use some of the apps, some of the engagement that they have. And as a result, they could have this loyalty program and reward program as a student, all the way up to master program, as well as when they graduated and done. So those are the things that we help them as well. Social, we kind of manage Intel Social as well. The big thing, Lenovo is one of our clients as well. We manage 3 of their verticals. So basically we manage their gaming verticals, we manage their small businesses, and as well as education. I know we have a couple education folks as well here that I'm sure you're kind of interested in learning more about how do you kind of tie in those integrated marketing as well. And then we do a lot of global as well engagement. This is kind of what we call the thought leadership. So a lot of times we make sure that we have a great, topic. It could be about digital transformation, next gen AI, and then we create that entire ecosystem of what is the storytelling and what is the trend topics for the Gen AI, and as well as for the engagement. And then we will poach the audience, and this audience is oftentimes is calculated. And what that means is making sure we hire the right, we actually invited the right people. And then we also sometimes invite the PR team and then the PR, media to show up as well. And then we have an amazing, program lined up for speakership and whatnot. Experiential is key for us as well. And I want to kind of share with you guys, experiential event, experiential engagement has been really big right now. I know someone's interested in trending and best topic. When you think about customer experience, you want to make sure that engagement kind of ties that back into the user. So we do a lot of experiential engagement. So here's an example that we just did this, Adobe and Accenture. We might do an experiential event at the ballroom, and then we create a day in life, for example. We just finished this hospitality where essentially we built, how do you walk through an airline, and how do you walk each user from point A to point Z. So it's kind of like a day in life, basically, that we build in. So we build in like this airline engagement from the kiosk all the way to the airport, and then how you touch base to the plane, and then how does the customer experience as a flight attendant, and then when you sit down. So that's what I mean by experiential engagement. I think that's really big. So this is kind of what you'll see the background. I didn't have the photo, but that was kind of on the video, to show them a little bit of how it looks like for the future experiential engagement. I want to stop a little bit because I feel like I've been talking for quite a while. I want to kind of point it back. If you guys have any specific question for me about the 24 Notion before we get into trends and best practices. Let me share my screen. Anyone?
Yeah, I was curious. I know you talked about, struggling to raise some money
Early on.
Yeah, early on. But what was your first break? Like, which customer came through?
Yep.
And what did you do to earn that customer?
Right. So I think, so my background, I've worked before, if, this will tell you how old I am. So I'm not going to give it to you guys yet, but I started with the .com industry. I think, Hazy, this, the .com industry back in 2000, that was kind of where I write I would say my career, right? You built all the digital from a ground up. I was in the Silicon Valley and things of that nature. So I knew what needs to happen and how do you push this as well. So when I went to try to look for a VC at that time, and I think, it's really tough, right? When you have services, especially marketing, is so saturated, it's like, well, why are you so good at what you do? And then why are you better than anyone else? I remember my mentor was like, Ivo, you can't have a CSR or a gift back until you hit this $1 million. Then obviously you could give 1%. You know what I mean? I'm like, 1%? Are you kidding me? So anyway, there's a whole other thing as well that I kind of had that epiphany. So when I made that switch, I was like, well, I'm just going to bootstrap. I took out all of my 401k, which I don't ask each one of you guys to do that. Like, don't do that. For me, it's kind of like all in, like PB&J, either I do it now or I don't. And I did that. And then I start doing consulting because I got a lot of calls like Microsoft. My last job was actually with PR Wagner. And I got all these calls from a lot of these amazing client, my ex-client, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you at? And we're like, oh, I'm just doing consulting and I'm hoping with this agency. They're like, what are you doing? So then that was kind of how it started. Actually, I start, picking up the call. And if you notice that cold calls, like picking up the call, traditional, I literally pick up the phone and I call one by one. And there must be hundreds of people that I call and like, hey, just so you know, I'm doing consulting and I'm building this agency on the side. Let me know how I could help you. And at that beginning stage is always hard because they're always like, all I have is like $200. Will you take it? I'm like, sure. You know what I mean? Like it's like you take as much as you could, and then you realize like you hit those points. The sweet spot, to be honest with you, Kazi, is actually enterprise. Enterprise, I've worked with so many enterprise before, and I would say Adobe was a big client of ours, and that was kind of like one of the big break for enterprise. But we also have a lot of VC. So all of this inside portfolio venture capitalists like yourself as well will come to us because they said, hey, I can't stand working with 5 different agencies. Why can't you build the brand? Here's, they just hit Series A funding or B, or here's X amount of dollar. Can you build the brand storytelling? Can you build me a PowerPoint template? And then digital transformation. Can you do it for this X amount of dollar? So I think that at that early on, we just kind of been so hungry, Kazi. So we took all of these things that we could kind of build for a startup. And then that was really well, right? We built everything and then we give it to their intern sometime. We'll give it to the intern, give it to their founders with, 2 marketing team and 2 intern and then 1 developer. And we're like, hey, we did all this. Now you got to carry it. So I think for us, that was kind of the win, the fact that we're not like just coming in like, we want to own everything, but we kind of try really hard to work with what their needs. And then we come in, we develop, and we'll back off. And oftentimes those startup companies with the Series A, B, or C funding, they came back to us like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. 2 years passed. Now we got to refresh something. We're on the 3rd year. Can you come up with our marketing plan? So I would say the big break was basically hitting that sweet spot, and as well as a couple of those big enterprise that really, trust us. And then we actually hit a really, and we're so big in ROI. I mean, we won't stop. So, I mean, it could be like, hey, the retainer 6 months, but if it took us a year to get the development of the ROI, we will work so hard to make sure you get double of those. So I think that's pretty much what the sweet spot for us. Hopefully that answered the question.
No, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Question for you guys? No, not yet. Okay, so all right, so good. So we just talk about trends. I think important, right? So experiential, again, one size doesn't fit all. I think those are really key as well. The other thing is, I think the market in each different region are different. So I want to kind of share a little bit with you guys a little bit. If you're focusing on Oregon or Pacific Northwest, I think it's important to know where are they located, right? So now after 2020 hits, obviously everybody's remote. Like if someone could be working for, Intel, for example, but they might be in Santa Clara. They might be in, to be honest with you, Alaska, or they could be in Kentucky or New York, or it could be remote location, Fiji Island, for all we know. So I think it's important for you guys to know, like, where's the user and how do you use that dollar to make sure you could break through. So think of it as not only from the channel standpoint, but understand your users, and also finding the right audience I think is key for you guys as well. So I think those are important things. I know that someone had a question about how do you break through PR a little bit. How we do our PR is slightly different from the majority of them. I think it's good to write a press release. I think it's awesome to do that as well, but we take it a step further actually. So once we're done with our marketing engagement, we might have a press release, But what we do is we actually take that press release and we kind of connect it back to the audience that needed to know. So it could be a blogger, for example. We think of them as PR as well. Who are the top bloggers for that specific, channel or for that specific verticals that you want to go after, for example. So I know that I think the beach necessity was kind of the big thing for you guys. Blue economy is pretty big right now, but for some reason, there's so much education that needs to happen. So I think that, Bill, I think that the hard part is like, how do you educate the user, right? I think those are the key thing for you to kind of like educate those consumer that knows a little bit about blue economy, but also the people that don't know anything about it. So I think fun facts could be good for you, like fun facts to educate those users to know a little bit of why is it important for you guys to care about the resources that when it comes to water or aqua or, aquaculture and things of that nature. Because when we think about climate, we think about land, we think about land resources, but not so much of the fishery, anything that within the aqua portion as well. So there's going to be a lot of education for you guys. I think that for you guys will be key is like pushing a lot of content so you could educate those customers, and then connecting as well for a lot of those key areas that you want to go after. So essentially the e-com could kind of come after that as well. So education is like key for you guys before you even hit those marketing engagement. I don't know if you agree with that, Bill.
I do. There's education is a big component, and all out on social, Facebook, Twitter, trying to your point, educate and make it fun. Let's be honest. People like it when it's fun, but then you every now and again try and intersperse some reality and with the lighthearted.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, no, more work to do there.
Yeah. I think that's important before you kind of do some media buys or even come up with those marketing plan just to kind of understand what they're coming from, I think it'll be great. Yeah. The other thing I want to answer is I know that there is a digital transformation for Linfield College. I think interested to know how do you connect that PR. And I think with the education right now, it's such a saturated market. And then obviously, how do you kind of top trending on that as well? I think at one point we have some education as well that we kind of focus on and we support them as well. I think it's important to know who are you guys going after, whether is it a program for undergraduate? Is it a program for master? Is it a program for specific things? So I think I would kind of create a phases approach as well. I think those are a key thing for you guys for the Linfield College. And then kind of finding out who's a brand ambassador, because to be honest with you, your brand ambassador is actually your student, your current student right now. If you could somehow work with them and leverage them to be the marketing, push for your brand ambassador, I think you could create a win there. Yep. Let me stop a little bit. I was just kind of going through my notes here, so I want to hit everyone. Any specific thoughts or question that you have as I kind of share a little bit about marketing, PR? No?
Nothing in the chat either. You guys can also just put comments in the chat if you have a specific question for Evo. That would be a great place.
Yep.
Or just unmute and.
Yeah, Evo, I do have a question, and maybe it doesn't have to be right now, but as you kind of go through your talk here. So most companies, especially in the high tech, right, they start as like one product company. So you take Google as an example, it's Google. And for the longest time, they would put all their marketing dollars into that search engine. Now, most high-tech companies diversify. And even if you take Intel, they got like 20 different products, 5 different business lines. And there's always this struggle between product-specific marketing and the corporate brand-specific marketing.
Yep.
Right? Like, do you talk about the company brand? And you have to, but again, what's the right split? So as part of the work you've done thus far, like take Adobe as an example. Is there some thinking where you decide, out of $100 I'm going to spend 60 on product level marketing and 20 on building the corporate brand? Or something along those lines. So anyway, it's just food for thought if you've seen something along those lines.
Yeah, I could answer you on that one. I could share with you like with all the trials that we did. So we do spend specifically on the brand level and then also product specific, our team does, but it depends on the brand, right? If it's already brand known, like, Alphabet, Google, Adobe, obviously Salesforce, there's no brainer, right? When you think of Adobe, the funny thing is, cause it's like, when they think of Adobe, they still think of Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. Everywhere we go, I mean, this is so funny. Like even years past, we would be in an event or whatnot. They're like, oh, why are you guys here in a B2B, conferences, or why are you here poaching some B2B market? And we're like, oh, did you not know we have this whole entire digital transformation? So we did, so there's a couple of things that we did actually early on. We did every time before we actually create this product specific go-to-market strategy, we also do a user group. So there's a survey, a user group, focus group that we do as well. And this focus group hits a different type of location, what we call geolocation. So we could do a user group in North America, or we could do user group or survey in Latin America or EMEA. So those are always needed. And then those things help us to kind of create a go-to-market strategy, whether we want to hit it bigger, educate them a little bit from the brand level, or we actually could go down to the granular level after we did this X, Y, and Z. So specifically for Adobe, actually, they always have issue with, and obviously with any high-tech enterprise as well, they always have this abbreviation, like ABC, CDP brand. And they're like, what is that? So that seems to be a lot coming from their evangelists or from their tech, developer. They built this program, they built this amazing, next gen AI, for example, or algorithm that kind of works in the back end. So essentially you could capture data analytics for email, for example, or who's coming into the user group. But oftentimes a lot of the engineers fail to explain what will it do for the marketing team, but also it fail in terms of, hey, by the way, we're actually stalking you. You know what I mean? It's actually a GPS location under your email. So we know what you search, we know what you buy, we know when you put stuff on the cart. So those are the things that when we use user group and focus group survey to make sure that we kind of hit them up and kind of understand like, wow, we didn't realize we're threading between stalking them. So maybe we back off a little bit. Instead of data analytics, we call them X, Y, and Z. So we do that a lot. And then what we do is also, we do actually create channels and we do hit those B2B market as well. So essentially we targeted them specifically to share what the product service is. And then what does the product do? And we do it by visual storytelling. So we create like data visualization, infographic. Sometimes we built an HTML like digital, where essentially we walk them through what is the user looks like, what is this X, Y, and Z a little bit. Obviously for Adobe, it's a B2B marketplace. So oftentimes they go after Target instead of just like the moms and pops. So it's basically an X amount of after the mid-market that we go after. And then we do by specific channels. It could be media buys, it could be search, it could be paid search, it could be thought leadership, it could be a whole gamut. And sometimes we do social too. We do a bunch of social on LinkedIn. We do social on Twitter, Facebook, you name it, YouTube. Sometimes we do a day in life in LinkedIn. Sometimes we also put executive on a speakership, for example, when it comes to B2B e-commerce conferences, for example. So those are the things that we do. And then oftentimes during those conferences, Kasi too, what we do is we take them and we invite them for like what we call the brown bag lunch and learn. So during brown bag lunch and learn, we give them lunch. And then obviously we walk them through what is this product for, So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it's insightful. Thank you.
Yeah. And then it's also one size doesn't fit all. I think you have to understand like what is the brand that you guys are pushing. If you guys brand already been, out there, but sometimes you you have to recalibrate. Another client of ours is Cisco. Actually, as you know, Cisco has been around for so long, but there's so much of this cool product, for example, that they try to push and no one really heard. So we found out that we had to recalibrate a lot of this, recreate and not reinvent, and just recreate and recalibrate it. And then coming up with those marketing packages, then we could go to market and then we hit specific region and data and things of that nature. Yeah. The other thing is KPI. I want to mention to you guys, Kazi just asked a lot about, what channels, what marketing tools. Make sure you guys have a KPI, so when I think of KPI and goals it's important, right? For you, your team, as well as if your services, your client. The KPI and goals is not just like, hey, I want to reach everyone in the world. I think the KPI and goals has to be like, hey, we want to make sure that at least 20% of the C-level executive within the e-commerce market for the mid-market will understand, who you guys are or what you guys are. So if you have that one touch point, I think those are key. The other thing is making sure that your sales and marketing are kind of joining the hip. Oftentimes the sales, I see this so many, the don'ts actually, what happened with the company, especially for mid-market, small to mid-market, their sales team are not talking with their marketing team. And as a result, there's a disjointed effort that happens, right? Because sales needs to lead sales, marketing need to push campaign, but you guys have to be joining the hip. I mean, I couldn't reiterate that so much more. Like if you guys are joining the hip, sales and marketing, I think you guys will have a better support, and you guys will also have a good result, because then essentially you guys could build the KPI and goals together based on that sales and marketing. Because obviously when you do a campaign, somebody has to follow up, right? Who's going to do the cold calls? Who's going to do the email? Who's going to be doing the follow-up? If let's say that you hit, I'm just saying, let's say you hit 10,000 users out there. If you have 5 win, I think to me that's already considered a win, because obviously your effort are measured and tracked by that 5 leads out of the 10,000, because it depends on the cost as well that you're kind of trying to grab. So it's important. Sales and marketing are the do's, and you guys have to be joining the hip. And then I think that this is a kind of full circle with the integrated marketing, you guys. Like, I think it's key to make sure that each campaign are speaking to each other. Oftentimes, when we think of marketing campaign, it's like one and done. Hey, we're doing the social engagement. We're going to do 3 months when it's done. But what happened after that 3 months is basically a lot more work for you guys to do. So make sure that you manage a lot of this. It's a dominoes effect. It needs to make sure that everything has to be calculated, and it has to go through the whole year long process of your campaign. But it's okay to pivot, right? So let's say you go through this campaign and you realize like, oh, shoot, we spent X amount of dollar on this search. We spent X amount of dollar on this PR, or X amount of dollar on this email campaign, but realize the email is not performing. It's okay to pivot. Let's say that, reduce the amount of dollars that you put on email and put it more into search or paid search, or maybe some sort of a PR engagement, for example. So those are the things as well. Like if you guys hire some services that deals with marketing and PR, make sure that you guys have a good KPI and goals, and put an ROI on it. So make sure that they're ties in on it, because obviously a lot of marketing agency or PR agencies are not building those within their ROI. It's always been like glitz. Hey, we did this amazing campaign, but you're like, wait a minute, what do we get out of those? So make sure that you guys kind of carry that deuce as well. Okay, hopefully that helpful. Question. Now we're like, how many, Nidhi and Carrie, do we have 10 minutes or 15 minutes? I want to make sure that I'm also.
So this is till 1 p.m.
Oh, okay. Okay, sounds good, because I had it on 12:30. Okay, good. Any specific question from your specific product and services that I could help you with? What do you think?
Hey, hi, Satya here.
Hi.
So have you ever run programmatic advertisement for any of a company, and what is your experience on that? If yes.
Advertisement for subscription or for product or services, Satya?
See, products. See, what I meant is like programmatic advertisements. Have you ever run for any other company? Like DSP platforms are there, right? So few platforms are available globally. So have you ever run programmatically ads for any other top MNCs or something like that? And so if yes, please share your experience.
Got it. Yes, we do. We did mid-market as well as enterprise. And then it depends on programmatic, right? Like when we think about programmatic, it could be anything from like TV campaign, it could be specific on digital, or it could also be media where you kind of buy, from Google ad search all the way to ad banners. And then, hey, Wall Street Journal, we want X, Y, and Z within that as well. So the way we did it is two separate things. Obviously, you need to know the users because obviously it could cost so expensive, Satya. So like make sure you have a specific goals in mind, right? Like, hey, I just want to run the campaign within 3 months or 6 months, and make sure your marketing person negotiated with whoever the media buy is to make sure that there is a click per, the CPL, whether it's CPL, whether it's a click per leads, whether it's a volume, whether it's a week-long campaign, make sure that there is an ROI and then there's specific dollar that ties into it. Because if you don't, then I think you will run a lot of dollars. And even though it might not be a lot, it could be like, hey, click per leads could be, $20 or $10. I think if you could create some sort of a formula that would work for you guys, that would be helpful. So we did that. We actually did that a lot for our mid-market and also with our enterprise. A lot of our mid-market, we give them a cap level. So basically we said, hey, we don't want to spend more than, I'm just saying this, I don't want to spend more than $5,000 each week. And we only run it for, 2 to 3 weeks. And then within that, we want to make sure that we hit X, Y, and Z. So you give them a list as well, making sure that things are working with that nature. And then making sure you could pivot and then make sure that you review it every week with the media buyer and a media campaign to make sure that you hit that target. Because for example, if you run for a week and then you already burn, $2,000, $5,000, let's say that you didn't see any, spike up, then you have to quickly pivot that for the second week. So those are the things that I think is important. I think that digital are key for you guys. I wouldn't do any traditional marketing, especially for you guys. I think I would do more of a digital engagement. I would put a dollar amount of, small amount, it could be social sponsored. It could be programmatic advertisement X, Y, and Z, Google search, ad banners, and things of that nature. So I always ask the media buyers to get us a lot of their customer profile. So I would just say, hey, share with us your customer profile. I want to know who's your user group, who reads your readership, and how many people hit on it, and then what do they do? So those are what we call the customer profile from your media buyers. Hopefully that answers your question, Satya.
Yeah, fine. See, what I mean is like demand side platform is a term available. Demand side platform is like Rocket Fuel, sometimes Facebook Ads Manager, and then few other tools are available across globe. So what I meant is like DSP, programmatical DSP. Have you ever experienced or have you ever run for any other companies in globe or something like that, like Media Math, Rocket Fuel, and then even Amazon is having a DSP market.
Yeah.
That is my question, actually.
Yeah, we do that for Lenovo, actually, one of our client. We do it globally, so Latin America, EMEA as well, and then North America, and then we do specific also for that. That's the same thing, the same program. I would say you kind of have to negotiate, to be honest with you. Our media team are really good about negotiating the costs because that could get really, really expensive. Just make sure that you could kind of tie it in the creative campaign on a quarterly basis. So that could also be part of your strategy as well. Do it on a quarter basis and then push it out via the social or Rocket Fuel and things of that nature.
Okay, got it.
I wouldn't spend too much money on that one because you kind of have to test it out every quarter because every market is different, and making sure that you guys don't just burn a lot of dollars if you don't see any ROI,
Okay.
The other thing, I would also maybe build a brand ambassador for your market. So let's say if you're going after Europe, and I'm just saying within Europe, I would be specific. Am I going after London, Paris, Italy, things of that nature? So I would really be specific on that city and that country in order for you to gain momentum.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Let me see if I touch base a lot of them. We talk about subscription, and then did someone ask about what's happening in Oregon? Like what's happening in what can we do in Oregon from marketing or PR standpoint? I think this is a really tough market too, but I love the fact that we have such a great startup communities. I think things like TiE is an amazing marketing tool for you guys as well to be involved in, to network. And you kind of have to be out there a little bit, especially in Oregon, in terms of engagement, right? There's so much an amazing nonprofit that you could learn more about, in terms of specific skills and specific development, things of that nature. Yeah. Any other question from, do we lose some people too? I know people like drop off, right?
So I got another one for you, Eva.
Yeah.
So when you're going through the overview of the company, you highlight CSR.
Yep.
And that is a big debate for large corporations, right? Is what does CSR buy you at the end of the day, right? I mean, if you're selling products, services, you can do good in the world, but you don't have to really advertise. And so anyway, that's kind of a general question. What's the ROI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I started the CSR, you so spot on, Kazi. Like,
Yeah.
what is CSR? Why do we need to have a CSR? Even before the decade ago when I started, they're like, what is that? How are you going to make money before you actually give back? I think those are the big thing for us. So for us, it's more, I think it's a personal passion of mine, Kazi. So when I was moving up the ladder, actually before, I noticed that the bigger the corporation is, the less amount of money they give back.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work for a company that used to call Bell South, then become Singular, that become AT&T. They partner with this United, and they asked, it's so funny, like we were like sitting around Robin, like, hey, United is part of it. They could take, 1% to whatever, 10% out of your paycheck. Like out of your paycheck, I was like, wait a minute, I don't even make money. I don't make enough for me to give out of my paycheck. So I kind of digging into those areas, and I realized like, wow, I didn't realize, I think for a corporation as large as that company, oftentimes it doesn't make them a dent. It doesn't hit them a dent, right? Like they said, hey, why don't you guys support or give back? And a lot of those things are usually based on passion. Like for me, it's like passion. I remember when I started the agency, a lot of nonprofit was just struggling. Like Girls Inc. was struggling. They're like, how do we have this boys and girls, scout kids that they do after program, they don't have a place to stay. As a result, they get into drugs, they get into crime. I mean, there's all this thing, right? So I'm really big about next generation, making sure that they are being mentored correctly. So I remember I was digging through those, and I realized that, wow, if each one of us could mentor even like 1 to 10 people, it could just be by the call or anything like that. We could help them if there's an after program that essentially we could reduce the amount of drugs and alcohol and get them in trouble. Instead, they could do this after program. So it was basically by my personal selfishness that I do want to support these kids. And I really ran into so many people that I just kind of mentor along the way and realized like, hey, if we could just give back slightly, then essentially we could make the world a better place. One day we got a call, actually, it was so funny. Like I was at one point, I'm like, well, I was just going to give money, 10%, 20%, 1%, whatever it is, give back. And then we got a call from this nonprofit. They're like, hey, we actually don't want your money. We just want you to help us with your service. We're like, whoa, why is that? He goes, well, we're having a hard time telling our story out there. And everybody's having a hard time just sharing that story. So make a long story short, we ended up giving our service. That night alone, they did an auction. They hit through their ROI. Actually, they made over $150,000 just the auction. And what we did is we cross-collaborated with some celebrity like the soccer team, someone from Adidas, someone from Nike, someone celebrity X, Y, and Z, and they were able to create this amazing, stuff together. As a result, we were able to kind of mentor some of those programs. So in a long winded road, I have to share that because it kind of ties back into with your purpose, to be honest with you. Like that was my purpose early on, to make sure that I could help. And then I want to make sure that I want to do good for the world, right? That was my purpose. Now, going back to the ROI standpoint, for us, many of our clients never asked like, hey, because you do CSR, therefore we come after you. It just literally recently, the last 5 years, Kazi, that they're like, oh, CSR is really important. But a lot of our stuff is mostly ROI driven. So our client will come to us and then they would say, wow, I didn't realize that by working with you, you actually care about goals and KPI and then give back, right? So that just become an automatic thing. As a result, it's a bonus for them, But in terms of ROI specific, we try really hard to measure it, but in a sense is if you could help the next generation move forward, I think those are key, right? Early on, I would say, I think it was like 2010, 2013, we got a call from one of these media company. They're like, hey, how come we didn't hear of you guys? You guys are an agency. Why don't you guys do a newspaper ad, do a billboard, do all this stuff? It's only like $8,000. It's not a lot. So I happened to pick up the phone that day because our receptionist was gone. And I was like, well, let me explain to you why I'm not giving you the $8,000. Just listen to me, sit down. They're like, why? With the $8,000, I could feed about 200 kids in the Cesar Chavez K through 12 for the next 8 months. So do I want to be selfish, giving you $8,000 so we could bloat ourselves? Or do we give that $8,000 for the kids in Cesar Chavez who's like underprivileged, they need food? I mean, like the only food that they have is basically that once per day at the lunch. If none of the private companies supporting them, then obviously they're not even eating. They come home, they're hungry. And hence why a lot of the kids are fighting at school because they're hangry. You know what I mean? They don't have enough food. That's why, it just become more a personal goal. So anyway, that was kind of the big thing for me. Like, I remember the guy that's tried to sell me that media, but they're like, okay, I don't think I could fight with you. You're right. You have to feed these 230 kids with that $8,000 rather than me to bloat yourself. So to be honest with you, it's kind of my personal goal. And to me, it's just, that was the big thing where I told him like, I can't turn my back away on these kids, so those are the big thing for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Great. Any question, thoughts? Any burning question on your specific challenges that you have that I could help you guys with? All right, Bill, we're good.
So yeah, in terms of CSR.
Yep.
So I've come across a couple of studies that highlight how purpose-driven companies they generate more revenue, they're more profitable. It's clearly, people have an affinity, and that is growing. Like, I think we look around the world today, we see lots of challenges. And so I guess my question is, it doesn't seem in the investment arena that financiers are willing to look at purpose-driven companies and think of them as a profitable investment. So if you were to look at Patagonia back in the 70s, when they started, you'd be very happy with the return if you had put money in. But do you have any thoughts on the market doesn't seem to honor or respect the fact that people trying to do good works are also trying to be, that's a very strong foundation for a business.
Yeah. I think that goes back, Bill, another education, right? Like when I started this CSR, like, what is that? You know, how do you give back? Why do you want to do it? I think purpose-driven is a great thing to do. And then I think that it needs to come from the passion, right? Like my passion is different from yours, from others as well.
Sure.
I think that if you're, let me answer this a couple things, right? If you're looking for a VC or an investor that kind of look for that specific, you know, purpose-driven company, that I would like, hey, go after those VC and then the angel that really focus on those, because they do care. And then I think that CSR has been changing throughout years. And then I could tell you the last 5 years has been really big, right? It's like, hey, every time you buy this water bottle, 1% goes to X, Y, and Z. I think it's great. And I think that for people, so let's say I'm the user group, obviously I would buy that water bottle versus the one that none, right? Because I really care about CSR. I really care about sustainability. Then obviously if I want to spend $15 for this water bottle, there's a 1% ties in, I would actually support that 100%.
Mhm.
Some people might do it differently. They're like, well, I don't really care about that. I just like the color, you know, red, for example, even though it's not purpose driven, but I rather focus on the brand. So I think that it's important to educate still, because obviously there is a huge pool of market out there that really care about purpose driven. And as a result, those are the things that I call it the dominoes effect. You know, those dominoes effect and the chain effects always works, because when you do good as well, essentially it's going to come back, right? I've seen a lot of them now, like, you know, for example, like hammocks, like I watch Shark Tank, like, oh, that lady's building a hammocks and she's actually equipping and then like actually helping all those women from some of this remote country where they could get them a better, you know, obviously a better living expense.
Like helping employ them, having
Totally.
them become
Yep.
part of the workforce.
Yep, become the workforce. So not only they're able to, you know, help to get a better education for their kids, but food, they able to build houses. I mean, those sort of things is really good. I mean, I think that it's catching up right now and people are seeing it. It's just still brand new to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't really understand. You just have to keep educating and keep sharing what is it, you know, the driven purpose engagement is and why you're doing it, you know.
Yeah.
I think you guys have a great, you know, product. And I think you guys have a great, you know, with the 1% give back and things of that nature. I think the story just have to be told. Like no one knows yet and no one knows. And you just have to keep at it, like pushing them forward so people understand, you know, word of mouth marketing is the key as well, right? It's like, I think those are key.
Yeah. No, storytelling, definitely. It's how do you amplify your storytelling?
Yep.
I think that's the challenge. Like I can talk about it individually, but how do I amplify it? That's the biggest challenge we have right now.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah.
So thank you.
Of course. I think we're running out in 10 minutes, guys, right? I just want to make sure that I answer all your question and then give you every proper things. And obviously I'm on LinkedIn. You could email me as well. I'm happy to kind of chat with you guys more. I'm happy to kind of share everything that you could think of. I'm an open book person. So you don't even have to hire an agency. I would kind of give you an hour. This is why Oregon has been really great, right? This is why we're all Pacific Northwest. I want to make sure each one of you guys are successful at what you do. And then if I could be helpful or having a chat or quick thoughts on your plan on things of that nature, I'm happy to help you guys out. Great. Neeti, Carrie, should we kind of wrap it up and just
I think so. So just a last call. Anybody? Pallavi, it seems like you turned on the camera. Is there a question coming?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to show that I'm here and I've been listening. So thank you for throwing everything here.
Okay. All right. So I think we should wrap up. Eva, any last thoughts for the entrepreneurs here?
Yeah, I think that, again, like marketing is not one size fits all. And PR, I think that understanding, like we just talked about this as well, like making sure that you guys understand who your user that you go after, and then making sure also don't give up. Sometime each quarter is different, keep at it, because those are trial and error. So, some campaign might not work, but it doesn't mean that it didn't work for the next quarter. So like, I think perseverance is key for you guys. And also making sure that you kind of keep working on those, because those things always important from your brand as well. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Eva, for your just your experience here, providing that to the entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, thanks for logging in. Please feel free. Eva is on LinkedIn. And she's willing to help. So please make use of her time.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the next workshop.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.